Brother, man, how are you this week?
I'm good. I sound a little bit better than you. I feel a little bit guilty about it since I was feeling pretty rough in between recordings.
Yeah.
Um, Household cold plus pet allergy. Um, I think I'm finding out that Allegra is a work. That
Uh-huh.
stuff's fake for me. Doesn't do anything. So gotta find something stronger. Maybe I can talk to the doctor. Wink, wink. You know
I
what I'm
don't know if
saying?
they make that for your nose and your sinuses.
I want to know if I can get steroids because cat hair makes my throat tickle.
No, probably not. So
I'm gonna ask my doctor.
so the first thing they're going to do is they're going to put you through an allergy test and you're going to hate that.
If it results in me getting anabolic steroids,
It will not.
then it's for the love of the game.
It will not. As much as I would love for this bit to turn out to anabolic steroids being the actual logical next step, I don't think it's going to be that way. I don't think so. But you're going to get pricked 30 times up your arms to see
Ooh,
what you're
ow.
allergic to.
Oh,
But that's why
well, how
I
you feeling,
love
man? How you
um
doing?
not a sponsor, Tylenol cold and head congestion severe. That's my jam. Yeah, man. So I've just been sick. I wouldn't say I'm sick. I haven't taken off work.
Okay.
I've been playing sick. Playing ill. I'm not sick enough to call off work, but I'm too sick to work. Have you ever had that before? Where it's
Yeah.
like your concentration and your peak output is down 15%, which should be enough for you to say, no, I can't go to work. But I don't feel bad. Like,
Right.
so what am I going to do? Sit at home, play video games all day?
On the clock? Yes. If you can.
No.
No.
No. We don't do that in
No.
this job. We did it the
Oh,
other
okay.
ones.
The other one, not at this one.
No. No, there's stuff to do. There's things to do.
Dang.
Yeah. But it's
Actual
just
work.
actual work Jones. But it's tough. I kind of want to call in today because everybody's listening to this on Monday. I want to call out Monday. It's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
I want a full day of nothing happening, Jones. I just want to sleep and beat it
Mm-hmm.
all and be ready on Tuesday. But I know I can't do that. I can. I have the time. I have the sick time. I have the availability. I can do it. I don't want to do it.
You don't want to do them.
I don't want
I
to go
think you have to have a
to work
strong
today. I don't want to do the work
you
today.
you got to have a strong dedication to when you wake up, you're taking the PM medicine, you take a nap, you wake up, you eat lunch, and then you take the PM medicine again, and then you just sleep the whole day.
See,
That's been my little strategy.
I'm afraid to take PM medicine. I'm deathly afraid of it because I don't want a medicine to be able to put me to sleep. I only believe in one medicine putting me to sleep, Jack, and that
I wouldn't
is
say the PM stuff
candy.
puts you to sleep. It helps you sleep through all the sniffles and ish.
Maybe.
More like a suppressant. I wouldn't say it initiates the sleep,
Well, I
but
mean,
you
that's what
will get
all
some good
medicine
sleep.
does. Aren't all
Oh, look, framing, pal.
sure? But welcome to Final Wrestling Place. I'm Tim,
Still Marcus.
and we are still trying to get over a post Sting world.
Yeah, man, doesn't feel real, but it is. First of all, lovely time, great time. Thank you. Soon to be named network headquarters, North, the compound. DJ Michelle, thank you for opening up your home to us and
Your
allowing us
arms
to
wide open.
hear no. Um, but yeah, had a great time. We had great company. Wouldn't have wanted it any other way. Conditions were perfect for Sting's last match.
Yeah. Um, Missed out on a treat. I don't know how many more times these sort of get-togethers are going to be getting together. This with scheduling and whatnot. Uh, we'll have to figure it out as we go along. But if this is the last ride for a while, then we'll take that ride. We'll take the ride for as long as we can. We definitely got to make it for something, but we don't know. We'll keep it on the board, keep it on the books, and just address it as it goes. But yeah, man, fun festivities. Everybody decked out in Sting gear, whether it was yours or not. Sting was actually in the building for STBN North. So much fun. If you don't have friends on the regular who you watch wrestling with, get them. Don't borrow ours. Get your own. Get your own friends to watch your shows together with. Build your own soon-to-be-named network. Hang together. Right now, over me.
We're always looking for satellite expansions. So maybe there's a soon-to-be-named network Deep South,
Aggressive
network Midwest
expansion.
Yeah. But we are the last show on the network to kind of round up and talk about Revolution. Yeah, Revolution 2024.
Have you forgotten?
I almost said All In. I was like, nope, nah, that's not it.
We're a long
what
way
was,
from there, partner.
Obviously, it was a great pay-per-view. Obviously, it's going to go down in the top 5 AEW pay-per-views to date. But all that said, what was your takeaways? What things did you really enjoy? You want to hit on anything as we go through the show?
I think this is the pace car for 2024. It's going to be real tough, I think, for a lot of shows to be able to catch this. In regards to just beginning to end quality, there's at least 4 matches on here that I feel should be match of the year or upper class matches. As I'm I'm looking for what our friend said about Revolution.
Revolution.
Yeah, so Christian and Garcia got 3 3/4 stars.
King, perfect opener.
King and Danielson got 4 3/4.
5-star.
The 8-man got 3 1/4. Roddy and OC got 4. BCC and FTR got 4 3/4. Tony
5.
Storm and Deanna got 2 3/4. Osprey and Takeshita got, I can't tell if that's 4 or 5.
They hit 5 3/4.
Yes, they did.
Will Osprey and
Takeshita got 5 3/4 stars. The triple threat got 4.5, and Sting and Darby versus the Bucks got 4 3/4.
5.
There's 4 5s on this card. There's 4 5s.
Yeah, and again, not necessarily like star rating guys. But
it's fun to laugh at
stuff. And not every match on a card should be 5 stars. But what I really liked about this and how this felt different and how I didn't have fatigue with, like, I guess, good match fatigue, is all those matches are different.
Yeah.
Every single one of those matches are a different story and a different style, and that is something, we'll get into a little bit later, that AEW is getting back to, and I'm really excited for.
Right. I know there was a lot of discourse online about the road that AEW is currently on, the path that they're taking, including in a post-Sting world. I mean, Sting wasn't necessarily like an impact player on the week to week, but it does take away some kind when, a major star, a major attraction to US audiences decides to leave a promotion for one reason or another, whether they're leaving for retirement or they're leaving because they can't help but to punch their coworkers in the face allegedly, or what have you, right? There's so many things at play, but I know for me, I was definitely intrigued, and it was why I decided to give AEW Dynamite a full watch this past Wednesday, because I'm like, okay,
Mhm.
new set, new logo, new everything. Time to shake things up a bit, right? Here's where you can set the course for the next 3 months, right? Because from here, you've got April Dynasty, you've got May Double or Nothing, and then you've got
Forbidden
end of
Door.
June, July, All In,
Mhm.
All Out.
You got Forbidden Door, and then you're
Forbidden
also
Door
gonna
in
have,
June. That's right.
yeah, that's a big show. And then, yeah, I think once you get to, I think they skip July, and then they get to August with the 2 shows,
Okay.
with All In and All Out.
Yep. So, because that's Memorial or Labor Day weekend for All Out, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then All In's the bank holiday before in the UK.
right.
Um. So either way, um, it's very interesting to see. I thought, well, like I said, I thought Revolution was great. I think a lot of people are giving credit to Will Ospreay, um, for what he did. I feel so horrible that not enough eyes are looking at Konosuke Takeshita and
Mm,
what he did. Um, there's as a person who studied journalism in college, and this was so many years ago, but there are two stories at all times, right? If there is a huddled mass of people looking at an event, right? There are two stories happening at the same time. You can either look at what everyone else is looking at, or you can turn around and look and see who is looking at what, right? And for me, everybody was focused on Will Ospreay in that match. Everybody. Will Ospreay's first match is being fully all elite. It's his first match really as a full-time American worker. What's Will Ospreay gonna do? And in my head, I'm like, Takeshita's hungry. Takeshita's looking for something like this. Takeshita's impressed every single time that he's been in the ring.
I'm glad you said that, because that's a dude, talking about Takeshita, every time he gets the call to go up to the plate, he clears the bases, whether no one's on or whether you got 3 men on. No matter what it is, he's hitting the ball out of the park every single time. And uh, I don't know if it's the callous stuff. I don't know if it's because he's constantly on like back burner for Omega or Jericho programs. I don't know. But you have to do something more with this dude.
I think it says a lot for me that even in spite of the Callis family, I still have a hunger to see Konosuke Takeshita.
Mm.
And honestly, I like the pairing of Takeshita and Don Callis. I like
Mm-hmm.
those two, and that's it. I don't need a Callis family.
Right.
Will Hobbs, break away. Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay, break away. Like,
Mm-hmm.
go. Be fruitful, multiply. Not here. But Takeshita having a Don Callis is super good. I look at him almost like we looked at Luther during the pay-per-view. Like, we hate Luther, but he's a Tony Storm, and that's kind of cool. And we can ignore Luther as being like an all-time get-out-of-my-face guy. But he's with Tony Storm, and that's really dope. The presentation, the package between them is very strong. And I feel the same with the Alpha, Konosuke Takeshita, and Don Callis. Everybody else in the Don Callis family feels like second string.
Yeah, because that pairing is so good. I don't think you can help but have diminishing returns when you try to spread out Don Callis to other people. And I hope they kind of tighten up the group. And even if they just make it Fletcher, Takeshita, and Osprey, and then whenever the other dude, Mark Davis, when he comes back, if it's just kind of United Empire and Takeshita, and then you tell a story there, I'm cool with. And plus Hobbs, like, get back to the fur coat. You got to get more for Willie Hobbs too, man. That dude's dope. I think he would have been the odds-on favorite for Meat Madness had that match taken place.
Right. Well, I don't know, man, because I think Meat Madness or the 8-man, whatever it was all a vehicle for Wardlow, right?
The Wardlow, yeah.
This is the third break glass in case of emergency moment for the Wardlow. Okay. But shifting gears back to Dynamite and the night after, the essential morning after Revolution, right? I thought AEW had a absolute fantastic opportunity to try something and be creative and like actually do something meaningful. And instead they went into a WWE playbook and booked a tag team match playa.
Okay. You're talking about the opening segment?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the first night of Dynamite. Swerve is dressed to fight. Swerve wants the world title. He's still the number one guy because Hangman was the one that took the fall, not him. Okay? Swerve is still the number one contender. Joe comes out, and Joe's ready to fight. And I get we've got Dynasty in 6 weeks. But you can run the exact same match at Dynasty, but have the roles reversed. The first Dynamite knew everything, and Swerve wins the AEW World Title in the first match on the night. That's a flag waving. That's a flag waving, line in the sand, foot in the ground moment.
Yes. It's not a yes and no. It's a yes and yes. I guess it's a yes with it, but also if they do the Swerve title change anywhere other than a pay-per-view / a Grand Slam, it's going to be like this generation's version of Hollywood Hogan and Goldberg at the Georgia Dome, where it's a cool moment, but then in history and immediately you're going to have people, oh, why didn't you have it on pay-per-view? This is why AEW is going to die. It's not sustainable. This should have been on pay-per-view, yada, yada, yada.
Well, they're going to say the same stuff anyways, Marcus. they're going to give you the exact same rudimentary answers then too. AEW, because now AEW is like all those same people who are like, well, why is the title changing hands here? Why isn't the title changing hands on pay-per-view? Now it's like, all we're missing is Teddy Long, and we got ourselves a SmackDown Classic Tag Team match, playa.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're just WWE again. We got tag team partners who can't get along because they're fighting for the world title against a team that's not ready to fight. Oh, and like, it's very damned if you do, damned if you don't kind of scenario, yeah. Right? Harshy's pal. Hey, it's 2024. It's a new theme. It's a new us. Maybe we cuss a little. Who knows? But it's just tough because I know that the last time we talked about AEW, right around the summertime, well, actually more in the fall.
It was fall. It was right after Survivor Series.
Right after Survivor Series. So shortly after Wrestle Dream, right? Leading into Full Gear.
Wrestle Dream, I think.
Full Gear. It's Full Gear November.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the thought process of us, at least, was a direction, a path. We need, like, AEW needs focus. And, you know, I came on here and I was maybe a little flippant with how I was saying things and kind of chuckling at the demise of AEW when not on purpose. I don't know why I did it. But like with the down houses, not to be confused with Danhausen, you know, down houses, a super heavy group at the top, and creative still kind of being wishy-washy, right? Like AEW now, since then, they've hired a team. There's a 4-man creative team with Tony Khan, headed by the lady who, the Emmy winner. I forget her name.
The Sasha Banks writer.
The Sasha Banks
I don't remember
writer.
either, but we all know it's the Sasha Banks hire / writer.
And I'll say this: if she's just coming in to write Sasha Banks' stuff, then you can add this to the list of things that Tony Khan has overpaid for. You know what I mean? Like, if you bring in an Emmy writer, an Emmy-winning writer, to write one person's stuff, like, I get it. WWE kind of did the exact same thing right now with Brian Gewirtz coming back as The Rock's buddy, helping The Rock do his stuff on TV. I feel it's a tad different because Gewirtz is a WWE person who is also coming back much like The Rock. And you also have to think that Gewirtz is not breaking the bank or not. There's probably not a lot of money, a lot of overhead on that. As compared to, you know, an actual Emmy winner coming into the challenger brand. Like, I understand Tony Khan is worth more than WWE, but he doesn't need to spend like it sometimes.
I mean, unless he wants to. Like, I don't know. Like,
I don't want to tell him how to spend
I'll never have that amount of money, so I'll never. There's so much that there's so many arguments or points that don't pertain to Tony Khan and AEW because money can solve a lot of problems.
The one thing I've seen, and at least in my takes, is just how long is Tony Khan going to be willing to operate at a loss, right? Or I don't even say operate at a loss. I don't want to say operate at a loss. I will say, how long does he want to spend money?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the answer is however long he effing wants to.
Exactly.
I'm not the one to tell him how to use his money. He's an adult. Okay? I kind of look at it in fear because I'm using my eyesight to spend his money. And I don't have the same vision that he does. And maybe that's a lot of the internet wrestling community not knowing his vision. And maybe it's a lot of other people who don't understand the vision and don't get it. And maybe they're just kind of looking at it day by day and week by week and kind of going from there, right? But as long as Tony believes in the product and he believes in what he's doing as being right, then more power to you to spend all the money. I guess the question is that now in a post-Sting world, in a post, like, there's no excuses now in regards to booking, right? Everybody who's hurt is hurt and they've been hurt. And everybody who's fired has been fired and they're fired, right? So there's a clean slate of where you can slot things and where you can start telling your stories, right? What do we feel Tony Khan has to do and AEW has to do in order to right the ship of public opinion? Because right now, the optics look bad. Now, don't get me wrong, the optics looked horrible for WWE right after the pandemic was over. And wasn't there, or was it before the pandemic?
It was before the pandemic.
We're getting the exact same pictures at AEW events that we were getting at WWE events.
Right.
Almost the exact same photos.
Yeah. And how I've wrapped my brain around that is the business has changed so much since kind of the scarring, dying days of WCW, where we would see, in 1999 even, there's full houses. And then by the time you get to the end of the year, or you get into 2000, you're looking at papered off bowls. You're looking at half-filled arenas. You're looking at quarter-filled arenas and all that stuff. Wrestling is much more of a TV product now. It's a TV show that has a live traveling studio audience or a different studio every single week. And I think that's how wrestling has to be looked at now. I don't think, obviously you'd like to see, houses with more people, yada, yada, yada. And that is something that WWE is really hot with right now and really benefiting from. Is they go to Salt Lake City and it's a sellout. They're going, to all these B towns and they're selling out, and the A towns are selling out, and they hardly have to run C towns because all the other towns are so hot. And you contrast that with AEW, and it's really only been since like September that a lot of this less than full house stuff has been going on with AEW. And I think just because of them running 2 live shows every week, with the constant Twitter news cycle, I think it feels like a lot longer, but it's been since September. What is that? 8 months, 7 months. It hasn't been all that long. It's not like it's been 3 years. They've had turnover in the office when it comes to the event, the building people and stuff like that, the people who decide where the show's going and book the buildings and stuff like that. And you still look at the pay-per-views, and the pay-per-views, they're full houses. And so like that is a big positive to draw from, but I think like AEW's doing fine. And whether they have 4,000 or they have 8,000 in a building, or they have 5,000 in a building that's supposed to seat, 9,000. Obviously, you'd always like the extra money, but like it's going to take years and years and years and years and years for that lack of selling tickets to actually heavily count in the red. I mean, you're looking at the end of the year, honestly, you're looking at a couple $1,000,000 left on the table by ticket sales. And again, it's been since September. So I think the optics on that, I think people just got to chill out. And
Yeah.
I think what AEW is getting to, and again, like more talk about the tickets, it's like with big business coming up, there's a lot of talk. Oh, they've only sold X number of tickets for this big building. Yada, yada. But what we talked about back in September after Survivor Series and after Full Gear was that AEW has to get back to putting out a consistent product that is their own product. And I feel like that's what they're getting back to. And when you bring in Okada and you bring in Mercedes, you're getting TV stars. Now, they may not be attractions that are getting people to the arenas, but what they are TV stars for your show. And there is a difference.
And I understand exactly your point of them being TV stars that aren't drawing business. WrestleTix on Twitter right now, they're reporting that there's 844 available tickets for big business $. This coming up Wednesday at the TD Garden in Boston. So maybe it is something that's
gonna end up
needle
selling out.
moving.
Yeah, and it's gonna end up selling out. So my point is because evidently it does move business. Tickets are flying. So love to see that. But like, just because an Okada or just because a Mercedes may not be the shot in the arm that a CM Punk was, there's not many CM Punks out there, man.
Right.
There's not many true attractions in wrestling. And that's not to say that Mercedes can't be an attraction. It's not to say that Okada can't be an attraction.
Right.
But it immediately it's not the same effect as a CM Punk. And to be fair, again, there's not many Phils from Chicago left out there to be had to bring in for a shot in the arm.
Right.
So they're doing their best. They're doing their best. Like, who exists that you could go out and get that's going to grab the casual fan, increase your business, increase your audience? It doesn't exist.
There's like one person. I think there's one person right now who could legitimately go to AEW and swing a tide.
Okay.
And you're going to hate me when I say it. You're going to hate me. Everybody's going to think I'm being a sycophant. But it's Cody.
Oh, gotcha. I'm just saying, like, he's obviously locked up under contract. Like, there is nobody available.
That's the point I'm getting to, is that even if there was somebody who could fit the bill of a CM Punk, they're not available. And like, that was the crazy part of hearing Okada's available and Will Ospreay's available and Sasha Banks is available and all these other pieces where WWE doesn't need them. And to be fair, AEW doesn't really need them. But do you want them? I mean,
Heck yeah, and they're
if I'm
going to make
AEW,
the product better.
if I want them for the sheer fact that they're not with WWE, like even if they come to my TV and they sit and do nothing for 4 years, that's 4 years of Okada wasting away with us instead of killing us in the WWE or NXT or whatever, right?
It's having the right to waste Okada if you want.
Correct. Um, now,
Which I don't think they will. Where did you land real quick with the decision to pair Okada with the Young Bucks? Because at first I hated it, and then I actually really liked it.
I love it. I love. Now, as much crap as I gave AEW just a few minutes ago with doing the safe thing and not pulling a title change or even doing a title match and doing a safe tag team match, having Okada turn and join the Elite, that's kind of ballsy, right? Because
Yeah,
there's a
and
lot
like
of
he's
people.
fully in the Elite.
There's a lot of people who think that, you know, Okada is just the face of New Japan. People don't know young Okada, young dickhead Okada, right? And now we're going to get him. We're going to get old dickhead Okada.
It's pretty cool to establish that character as a heel, because like if a guy comes out calling himself the Rainmaker in reference to how much money he's going to make a company, well, that's kind of that is a heel thing. And so
Right.
I think it's kind of genius. I don't know, genius, but like it's the smarter thing, I think, to debut him and establish him as a heel in AEW, and then let the face turn happen, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to just transplanting him here. Why is this guy, if you are somebody who's never seen wrestling before, and you're gonna say, well, why is Okada a face? Okay, well, here you go. They're establishing him as a heel and establishing who and what this character is.
And also, to their credit, too, AEW is taking a look at it as not everybody who's watching our product is going to know who he is, which is crazy to say, right? But
Mhm.
there's some establishing that needs to be done with Okada on US television. And the same goes with Will Ospreay. And the same went with Jay White. Jay White got lucky. He had the Bullet Club Gold. And that really engulfed the Switchblade, right? And
Mhm.
Will Ospreay, he's a big match dude. I'm curious to see where he goes on a weekly basis, right? And the same thing with Okada, right? You now have the ability, AEW does, to write a new Okada story. He doesn't have to be Okada from New Japan. He can be whoever Okada wants to be. And like, I'm like, one thing that's really weird, I want to see how much English he's got. Like, I want to hear it. Cuz that would be like, there's some, like, I saw the backstage promo, but like, if Okada comes out bilingual to the crowd, or even if he gives any
I'm pumped
English,
that I'm just pumped that it looks like his first program might be with Eddie Kingston, which
right?
is super dope.
Or
Um,
Pac.
Man, or Pac. Yeah, whatever. A lot of good matches. And this is getting back to the identity of who and what AEW is. And we talked about Full Gear as like the reference point, which was, I believe, the week before Survivor Series. And that Full Gear show, that was the MJF doing the Clash of Champions Sting storyline with getting jumped and getting taken to the hospital and coming back in the ambulance and fighting in the main event and all that stuff. Like, that was that show. That was also the Texas Death Match
Mm-hmm.
with Swerve and Adam Page, and kind of a, hopefully I'm using this word right, a dichotomy of
Huh.
where AEW was. They were kind of straddling who and what they were going to be, and it seems like they're getting back to their identity, which is really good wrestling, the best wrestling with the best available wrestlers in the world.
Okay, now this goes back to the previous conversation we were having of, does being a promotion built on good and above matches, does that grow in business? Because some would say this is just, PWG with a big budget. This is NXT with a big budget.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, NXT did WWE stuff. There was still WWE stuff. They just had the roster and they split the main event talent out. Whereas with AEW, it feels as though all of the titles are on, like, there's too many titles, and yet also there's not enough titles because there's so many people in the company that you could take WWE's roster, or you could take a Monday Night Raw roster and a SmackDown roster and piece out. You could rank them, right? You could say, all right, Seth Rollins is your number one guy on Monday Night Raw. Cody is 1A, right? Judgment Day is right underneath that. Then who's under that? Well, then that's Gunther, right? And you can slot out where everybody goes in a pecking order. And you can do the same thing on SmackDown. You got the Bloodline. You got Roman Reigns sitting at the top. Well, who's under that? Well, it's kind of a mishmash between like Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, LA Knight, AJ Styles, right? You've got that mix. Well, and who's under that, right? With AEW, it feels like there's 10 dudes per number. Or maybe that's hyperbole, but it's at least 4. Like, well, who's your number one guy? Well, it's Joe and it's Swerve and it's Okada and it's Ospreay.
Right.
And then who's under that? Well, it's Kingston and Danielson and Mox.
John Moxley.
Right.
But John Moxley never loses, so he's really like the number one. And Claudio. Yeah, the ands keep going. And the Young Bucks and Okada.
And then you got Darby Allin, who's new Sting.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And like, it can be, even as somebody who follows the product, like, we talked about it, that watching Revolution was a little refreshing because we were probably more disconnected to the week-to-week product than we had been in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, we followed it after the fact. We loved getting our recaps from our sister shows on the network. It was enough to keep us engaged, enough to keep us informed, enough to give us a satisfactory score on does Joe know the card, right? We can get to that. But if I were following along, would I have been hurt for following it more and being more entrenched in it and then getting to the pay-per-view? Or just coming into the pay-per-view and then getting hit with five-star matches of dudes that I know because I didn't follow the story. So the story doesn't matter. The story is, this is just a good match, and I treat it like a super indie as a fan.
Yeah. I feel like there's definitely some, but I think it's overblown. I guess credit to the matchmaking critiques of Tony Khan, and oh, he's a matchmaker, he's not a booker. I'm Bully Ray. Um, but with AEW, almost everybody is tied to a group. The group is tied then to teams within that group, or it's tied to a manager, or it's tied to somebody who split from the group, or it's tied to somebody who has history with somebody else from another group. And it's all these pieces that connect. It's kind of like the everyone, once a year, whatever, it goes around on Twitter, but it's like the diagram of the Dangerous Alliance versus Sting Squadron War Games match with like, this is how these people connect, which is how these people connect, which is how these people connect. And I feel like that's what AEW is like. And then you throw in the titles to add stakes to it. Like Mox and Claudio versus FTR was awesome. There was no titles involved. And for my money, it's the tag team match of the year.
So
Because
far.
it was about straight up like fighting and like putting your feet in the ground and saying, come get it. That's dope. And that's what AEW can do. And that's something that WWE won't do. And I think that is a side effect of WWE being the only game in town for the last 20 years. And because WWE says you have to have a storyline about somebody farting on your sandwich, or somebody replacing your shaving cream with icy hot or something like that, then that's what everything has to be. Everything has to have a storyline. I don't think that part is true. I think sometimes the storyline can be respect. The storyline can be who's bigger, who's badder. So yeah, it's something that AEW does that WWE, for the most part, will not do. And that's what AEW, I feel like that's when they are at their best, is when they are driving in those lanes that WWE will not.
Right. Now, this is just me playing devil's advocate and giving us more conversation to have, right? Is the audience base for wrestling in the United States? Oh, I'm gonna. Is the television fan base too simple to accept a different type of storytelling for the same thing?
No, I think the numbers are there. When AEW was running hot and in their hot streak, there was about 1 million people every week, which is really good nowadays. It's not TV's changed a lot. TNA used to do like 3 million people. That's crazy to think about during the bad years. When like Hogan comes in and talks about, no more dog and pony show or whatever, no more pony ring, no more playpen ring. That's hopefully Ed's proud of me for that one. No more playpen ring. Yeah, like those are doing like a couple million people. So yeah, when AEW's running hot and firing on all cylinders and the audience reflects that, there's about 1 million people, which is a good number. Now, how many of those are WWE fans? How many of those are just AEW fans? I don't know. There's probably a way to tell, but I don't know. But like, you can get 1 million people watching your product. I mean, I think that's really good.
Yeah, I
I
think
think
so
some
too.
people might
Like,
reflect differently.
yeah, I guess I definitely don't want it to seem like I'm not on the side of AEW for this, because like I do want them to succeed, because as a WCW kid, I need the WWE to have competition. We just
Hmm.
saw what 20 years unopposed looks like to the world of wrestling. It's not great.
No.
And WWE needs to be sending edible arrangements and care packages to the Jacksonville Jaguars offices every other month, thanking Tony Khan for everything he's doing, because like as the challenger brand, it is definitely challenging WWE to stay on their P's and Q's, right? Like, not to say WWE's heads and shoulders beyond reproach right now, because
No, but
as
there's
fun as this
definitely,
WrestleMania storyline is, it's also a bit convoluted.
which I like. It hasn't been perfect. It hasn't been the cleanest. I like it. Um, I don't know. A little bit of chaos is good, I think. But that, that might just be me. But yeah, like AEW as a challenger challenged WWE. WWE responded. They stopped running pay-per-views at the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Rhode Island or whatever. And they're running pay-per-views in friggin' Wales or wherever that was. Where are they at? Perth, Australia. They're running in France. They're running, really truly exploring the world in world wrestling entertainment, which is
Right.
something we've been asking them to do. Um, they've cut back on their pay-per-views. They've cut down on the runtime of their pay-per-views. They've cut down on how many acts they are showcasing on their pay-per-views. I feel like SmackDown largely has been a much more digestible program in the last few years. Um, Raw, while I cannot digest 3 hours of Raw, um, the first hour has been better. Now, has it been better enough to consistently want to watch every week? That's another talking point. But like, there has been more connectivity to Raw as a product than in the past, and um, there has been more longer form storytelling going on in WWE, and some of that has been kind of given a lot of benefit of the doubt. I think when you look at like the Cody stuff, and people are like, "Well, this Cody Roman thing's been going on for a year." Like, like, you know, but that's the perception, and so it's the camera angles and not so much Kevin Dunn shaky cam and the camera cuts. There has been some adjustments made on those, and the presentation has been made to feel a little bit more like something you'd catch on like, the NBA on ESPN. And those are positives. Those are all results of being challenged. And then AEW, they had to respond. And I think they're getting their feet under them. They got knocked off their feet. They're getting their feet under them, and they're getting back to who and what they are. And I can't wait to see what the next challenge is.
Do you feel there? One of the phrases you had mentioned was um, limiting the amount of talents you see on a daily basis with WWE. Do you feel that AEW needs to get to that point?
Um, I feel like they kind of are already, like with Revolution. There was no Julia Hart, Statlander, Willow on the show proper. That
Mm-hmm.
was the pre-show. Um, there was no Ricky Starks, and there was no Big Bill. That is a notable act that was left off the pay-per-view, and I felt the missing. Um, what's another? I feel like there was another act that wasn't on the show. Um, oh, House of Black. No House of Black on the show. Um, so every notable AEW act, I think they're already getting to a place where they're not on the pay-per-view, and it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Like, because I can see both sides. I can see where they're kind of already doing it, but then also you have the phrase we've used for WWE is an embarrassment of riches. Having so many people, you can't do everything with them. And you know, even though the time slots aren't necessarily the greatest, the AEW's got a Wednesday, they got Friday, they got a Saturday. And it's the same people we're seeing on Wednesday that we're seeing on Friday, that we're seeing on Saturday. And we're not seeing other underutilized talent. We're either seeing, now let me rephrase, we're either seeing all of those grouped together main event level talents, the 1-4s, and then we're seeing all of these like lower card people rotating in your Renegades and your Iron Savages and your, your infantries and all of these other groups, right? Like, what was Rampage this week? Like, let me just take a look here. It was Julia Hart and Robin Renegade, Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy versus Kip Sabian and the Butcher, Top Flight and Private Party versus Brian Keith and Commander versus or Top Flight versus Private Party versus Brian Keith and Commander, and then Penta El Cero Miedo versus Action Andretti. Again, you're clumping.
There's some dudes he listed, and I'm like, oh, there's no Penta on the show,
right?
Like that's crazy. Like Edge wasn't on the show.
Who?
Sorry, Adam Copeland. No, Edge. Y'all don't like Edge. But again, like it's something different that AEW does that you're starting to see WWE do a little bit. Like especially when I watch SmackDown, like I'm seeing acts on SmackDown that I know aren't going to be on the pay-per-view or aren't in a pay-per-view feud, but they're in a TV feud. But like that's how you make stars. That's how you get people over. I don't always want to have to see like the stars on every single show. I don't like that. You got 100 people on a contract, use them.
Mm-hmm. Spread it around, man. Give it some wealth. Give it a good time. So, I think we've given a good depth and breadth to everything we've done here. Marcus, did anything rock this week for you?
Thinking back to Dynamite, bringing back the tunnels, that rocked. I was very pleased. They kind of have the best with both worlds, with a big screen and screens galore, but they got the tunnels and they minimized the entrance set a little bit, and I'm happy with it. So that rocked for me.
What rocks for me is the elongated 10 plus minute Instagram promos that The Rock cut leading into the main course of his promos on SmackDown. We got another one for Texas. That promo was far and away better than anything he did on SmackDown. I love it. F your story. Off is the direction you can F. Like, The Rock's on one. Now, The Rock needs to calm down because he's on one and he's slowly passing it by osmosis to Roman Reigns. And Roman thinks he can say whatever he can. Roman thinks he can do his best Rock impression. And you're going to learn real quick there's some certain things you can't. You wish you were saying suffer and succotash compared to some words you were saying on SmackDown, my boy. Maybe lean more into Seth Rollins a clown and less Seth Rollins as something else. They're going to hope that, the tide washes over it all. Maybe, who knows? But for me, what rocked is, of course, The Rock doing his Instagram stuff, because that just makes my heart smile. Because I feel like it's close to the Rock we want, as opposed to the Rock we're getting on TV. We're getting two different Rocks at the same time. He's like, look, they're not going to let me do this Rock on TV, so I'm going to do it on Instagram, and then you're going to see what I can pull and move it over. So, yeah, Instagram rocks for me. Did you buy anything this week?
No, a little late on the weekly purchases. Opportunity business has just been very 50-50. A lot of giving, a lot of taking. So
More like a lot of
there's a pair of
taking and
Mr.
not a lot of
Hitman.
giving.
Not to ask, but just to give, not to want,
but just to send.
Send the power of the war.
Send it.
There's a pair of Mr. Hitman shorts I want to buy. Gotta wait on those. I'm coming very close to impulse buying WWE 2K24.
Did it.
It looks fun, so yeah, I think I want to get it.
So let me do you a favor.
I'm just waiting for opportunity business to hit.
Wait until there's going to be a sale in about a month or two that's going to significantly drop the price of the Ultimate Edition. So instead of paying like $129, you'll probably catch it for like $89. Get it then. Because right now there's like no DLCs. All the DLCs are yet to come out.
Okay.
And like I'm going through it, and there's typical SmackDown stuff per usual. I'm going through playing the showcase mode, the 40 years of WrestleMania mode. Why Hulk Hogan walks over the top rope to get to the outside of the ring, I'll never know.
What?
It's the same crap they did with Keith Lee. Like, you get to be you're a certain height and you can't walk through the ropes. You got to go over the top rope. So I'm going to have to go through, because I'm an anal retentive little boy. I'm going to have to sit down and go through all the move sets and make sure everybody's entrances and exits of the ring are right. Because I don't need Hulk Hogan walking over the top rope and ruining my immersion. Because I'm one of those idiot people who play SmackDown as I book a show and then I watch it. Because I'm an idiot. I get more enjoyment watching
Is GM mode back?
GM mode is back.
Okay.
If you'd like to talk, pal, maybe we can record stuff and put it and sell it for a bunch of money on the internet. You know, make our own opportunities, if you will. But I bought WWE 2K. I appeased my consortium and I bought some DLC for the South Park game Fractured But Whole. She's really enjoying those games. And I purchased another Sting bootleg. There we go. So my bootleg count is going up and up and up. Other than that, that is everything. Do you have anything you need to plug, Mr. Sir?
No, man. Plug free for me. So go ahead and take it away.
Let's wrap it up. Soon to be named network.com and soon to be named network.tumblr.com is your home for this and so many other podcasts, including but not limited to our wrestling offerings of At Odds with Wrestling with Joe and Adam, where Joe regales us about life on the high seas and Adam's F around playground, and We Need Wrestling with DJ and Brett, where they just shower us with love on the Stinger this week. All of them can be found on YouTube. All of them can be found on soon-to-be-named-network.com. Whether you catch them on their podcatcher of choice, you can always find everything on soon-to-be-named-network.com, including our merch store over at TeePublic. Buy shirts inspired by all the podcasts of the network, or most of them. If you want to follow us on social media, you can at Not the Tool Man for me, at the Wrestling Speakeasy for Marcus. If you know, you know. At TNM Shows on Twitter, at Final Wrestling Place on Instagram, because we can't get Final Wrestling Place on Twitter. Too many characters. I hate it. It just reminds me. It ticks me off whenever I see it. But we're trying to make a post. We're trying to post more on Instagram for the live shows. Maybe some different images that you're not used to seeing. But thank you so much for liking and subscribing on YouTube. Ring the notification bell. Subscribe. Help get the numbers up there. We're preparing for when Google Podcasts finally go away and YouTube Podcasts reign supreme. So we're being there. We'll be back next week to talk more fun stuff. Big shout out to DeWiki. Shout out to the Wings on Wings crew. And shout out to you. You're listening. You're the best. Don't let anybody tell you any different. And per what my fortune cookie said a couple of days ago, the cost of something is what you give up to get it. And you gave up your time to listen to us, and we appreciate that because we gave our time to give this to you. So we'll be back here next week for more fun, more games, and more just two dudes loving on each other, talking about wrestling. But until then, all that's left is to tell the people goodbye.
My boys.